As America rises from its food coma here on 49er Wake Up, we welcome you, Damon Bruce and Larry Krueger. Good morning. Happy day after Thanksgiving. Larry, I hope you had a good one yesterday. The 49ers certainly did up in Seattle.
They sure did. And that was an impressive win by the Niners, and it was great to see. It was great to see a very one-sided win. But, that third quarter, it was weird. It was like the Niners dominated the first half in the fourth quarter, and the third quarter was all Seattle's. But I'll give Pete Carroll credit to some degree. They could have packed it in. That first half was just it was just ridiculously ugly. Muffing punts and, it's just they looked really bad. They could have tanked. Instead, they came out in that third quarter and they fought like crazy. They played really well. They won the quarter 10-0. They made it somewhat of a ball game. And then the Niners got the dagger touchdown in the fourth, which was just an absolute Purdy to Aiyuk dime. And the Niners get out of there 31-13.
It was really impressive. And I agree with you, man. A lot of teams, and it happens. It's rarer to see in the NFL, but there are teams that make a choice to roll over and die. And at halftime, there is probably no more dominant first half that any team went through all year long. That's how much the 49ers beat the doors off the Seahawks in that first half. Third quarter, like you said, all Seattle. Tip of the cap to the intestinal fortitude of the team. Tip of the cap to future Hall of Fame head coach Pete Carroll. He had him keep grinding. I said it was a 3-chapter game. The first chapter was the first half, and it belonged solely to the 49ers. They dominated in every conceivable way. Second chapter was the third quarter. That was all Seattle. They dominated a quarter about as much as you can. And then in the fourth, the level of the talent on that field found itself again. And it was, I wouldn't say all Niners, but it was loud Niners in the fourth quarter. And a game that might have, possibly, could have, maybe drifted back into the lane of, Seattle's back in this. It never really happened. It got close once or twice, but it never really happened. A 31-13 win for the 49ers. Larry, on a day where Brock was not extraordinary, but the two Swiss Army knives that Kyle Shanahan has in his offense pretty much at all times, Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, if you put them together, if we invented Deebo McCaffrey had his single best game of the season. The two of them were just a 1-2 punch that really never stopped all night long.
McCaffrey especially, I thought, as a runner, had maybe one of his best games. I mean, you put him on that fast surface, and there were several times there was like nothing there, and he just made it happen. What an incredible acquisition he has been. And you're right, totally about Deebo. I mean, Deebo just so physical. 7 catches for 79 yards, 4 runs for 15 yards and a touchdown. Just, it's all three of these guys, between Brandon Aiyuk, who caught the final touchdown, Deebo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey. This summer in camp, it looked like all three of those guys were going off. And as we get closer to the finish line here, it appears that they're all on track to do special things. They've already done some special things, especially Christian and Aiyuk. But I think all three could be just the key to this Super Bowl run.
As soon as Jason Peters went out of that game, and boy, Chris Collinsworth dropped a couple of broadcaster jinx on that game last night. They're praising Jason Peters. He instantly gives up a sack and gets hurt on the play. Collinsworth also dropped Seattle needs to do something defensively right here. And that was the pick 6 that Purdy throw last night. So Collinsworth putting his fingerprints all over that game. There's no doubt. But look, the minute Jason Peters went out, it changed the complexion of that offensive line. And that's when basically Nick Bosa looked around and he just said, guys, hot supper. I'll meet you at the quarterback. And they did. A season-high 6 sacks for a 49ers defensive line that, Larry, is playing better than at any point during its 5-game winning streak. Chase Young did not have one of those jumps. More of a nuanced game for Chase last night, helping open doors for others to get through. But boy, do they work together. And this is a different beast with him on that defensive line. And one of the things that we talked about all year is that how this league has adjusted to great defensive line play by getting the ball out. it feels like there's less of that happening since Chase Young was acquired. And this defensive line is big, it's bad, and it is getting home. There's no more trying to interpret what went on with these guys. They're delivering the mail.
Yeah, I mean, since Chase Young has shown up, Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave have gone off. And that's just simply because you can't block all four guys consistently when they're this good and not have some kind of weakness. Somebody's getting a one-on-one. And Armstead, since Chase has shown up, has just been like the very best of Eric Armstead. So, and then Hargrave looks like he's getting it dialed up just in time to take on his former team next week. 7 tackles yesterday for Hargrave. He was great against the run. He had 2 solo tackles. He had 1.5 sacks. He had 2 hits on the quarterback. The Niners on the day, 6 sacks, 12 hits on the quarterback. And if you want to say what's the difference between the Niners and the Seahawks, it's the Niner D-line has whipped the Seahawk O-line in the last 4 games with Geno at quarterback.
How many times you go back to either the stuffing, the mashed potatoes, or the dessert tray last night, Larry?
I definitely had 2 helpings of the stuffing and the mashed potatoes.
Strong game planning.
With extra gravy, though. You know, that's really the key that binds it all together. Gravy.
I mean, what are we, animals? Of course there's extra gravy.
Gravy, ladies and gentlemen. Gravy.
Well, the gravy that everyone has been waiting to pour all over this football season comes up next. This is 49ers Wake Up. We look at what just happened. We will be previewing throughout the next, 9 days, what is coming up. But we know what the target now is, and the target is Philadelphia. Philadelphia's got the Bills coming up on Sunday. Now, look, the Bills are an up and down team. It depends on which Buffalo team shows up. There's a part of me, Larry, that would be interested in watching the Bills beat the Eagles, only to take the stuffing out of them a little bit. But there's another part of me that hopes the Eagles handle their business and we get this game set up the way that we want it. 2 healthy, excellent football teams just going to war together December 3rd in Philadelphia, the site of last year's NFC title game, the site of Brock's injury. And not that I don't believe in momentum between games. I really don't. They all happen in their own individual vacuums. There is not a single play that was run in Seattle that'll affect that Philadelphia game. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, you cannot help but watch how dominant the 49ers have been. And if you like their chances going into Philadelphia, which I think we both did like their chances, but I'm not going to brag about how they're going to go win. I need to see it. Like, that's the thing. I need to see them beat the Eagles before I just assume it's going to happen. But, Larry, they're about as set up and prepared to go to that game and find success, especially with, we've talked about it. You give a coach 72 more hours than another coach, that's where wins can be found. You know, a coach who doesn't have the same amount of time as another coach, that's where losses happen, especially with a guy like Kyle Shanahan. So it's just set up great. The game that we've been waiting for looks like it's going to be delivered in the fashion we want it to arrive in.
Well, I'm rooting hard for the Bills this weekend because, one, you know, the gambling angle makes you think that maybe Buffalo's got a shot. If you said Bills are 6-5, which they are, they've only won once on the road all year, and it's almost December. And the Eagles are 9-1 and undefeated at home. If I said to you, what's the spread in that game? What would you say, Damon? Or have you already looked at it?
I haven't looked.
Yes. Yeah, so guess what you think the spread is in that game. And I already kind of teased it what I said before, but
Philadelphia 7.5.
Philadelphia by 3. By 3.
It doesn't read right.
That doesn't read right. So it makes you think maybe. And then you look at Buffalo's schedule. There's no doubt if Buffalo's going to go to the playoffs, they got to circle the wagons, as they say, because their schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. So, I mean, that's maybe the Bills can get it done. It's in Philly. It's Sunday at 1:25. I'll be watching that. As far as the Eagles go, you got to remember this. There's 2 things, the Niners got to think of. It's the mental hurdle of knowing they can go into Philly and win a game, okay, which you want, that's what the Niners really need. That's the next frontier. They got to kind of show everybody that they can go into the Phillies yard and beat them, or into the Eagles' yard and beat them. But the other thing is the battle for home field. So the Eagles are 9-1. They got a 2-game edge. So not only do the Niners have to beat the Eagles, somewhere along the line between now and down in the final game of the season, the Eagles are going to have to lose again. And there's some other opportunities where they could lose. They play Dallas in Dallas, I believe. But this Buffalo game, maybe they they fall off here. Who knows? But I mean, when you see that 3-point spread, it's almost like Vegas promising you that's going to be a really close ball game.
Well, and maybe Vegas almost looks at this as a trap situation with the 49ers coming to town. I mean, the 49ers are enough of an opponent where you can't help but take your eye off your target and look up and think, oh, man, they're on the horizon. Like, that's the kind of football that they're playing. By the way, you want to talk about tough schedules? Seattle. Seattle, we all saw what happened on Thanksgiving. They've got the Dallas Cowboys coming up, and then they got another date with the 49ers. Like, that right there is going to pluck that chicken probably for the remainder of the year.
How good, by the way, yesterday was Devin Witherspoon. I mean, I know that the Seahawks didn't look like much, and though the rookie receiver from Ohio State, who I can't pronounce his name, had an amazing catch, and Charbonnet in the second half.
Jackson Davis
Smith. Jackson
Smith Njigba.
He had an amazing catch, and Charbonnet looks real. But, man, Devin Witherspoon, that's one of the best young corners I've seen in a long time. He made plays all night.
That back of his hand deflection, I don't know how much with that is design or luck, but he stuck his paw up. I didn't think his head was whipped around or he even knew where the ball was. But, you got to play that position with instincts, and that young man's got some instincts.
Definitely.
I hope it is in your instinct, good viewer, to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Larry, I know that you just went over a subscriber landmark. Where are you now?
28,000. We crossed the 28,000 plateau over the weekend. Thanks to everybody who has.
What are we doing for 30? What are we doing for 30,000? Like, we got to get together. We got to celebrate that bad boy.
Well, I'm hoping that we get to 30 before Super Bowl Sunday. That's the goal. We're doing a meet and greet on the 17th. Thanks to you. We kind of inspired me to do a Krug Show meet and greet at Pig and a Pickle in Corte Madera for the Niners Cardinals road game. We're going to gather there at Pig and a Pickle from 1 to 5 and have some barbecue. Say hi to Damon and Mary and root on the Niners, and maybe have a couple adult cocktails. And
what the plan is, all Bruces are rolling into this, including the Duchess herself. My mom's in town, so I think we're all rolling up there for a little barbecue.
Do I have to roll out real red carpet for the Duchess?
Yes. We expect it. We very much expect that. But Damon, who I met, who owns Pig and a Pickle, that's normally
great guy.
I'm always suspicious of other Damons. I'm very Damon dominant. I don't like another Damon in the room, but that's my kind of Damon. So I really, really like him, and can't wait to hang out with you that day. And hopefully we will indeed be celebrating. Larry, I'm getting close to 10. It's getting closer and closer. It's ticking up. It's ticking up. I had a goal to get there by Thanksgiving, just shy of the goal, but man, we're tracking the right way. And that's a huge part of your subscriber base being nice enough to hit subscribe over here. Anyone who is following me but is not already subscribed to Larry, you are missing out on incredible inside the building content that really no one else provides. And it is wonderful to have you here. I was trying to think, what is our combined seasons covering this team? I've been 18 years credentialed to covering the 49ers. How about you?
I would say 20, 26.
So we're talking, we are close to 40 combined years of covering the 49ers. And that's why I think 49ers Wake Up is a good show. It is becoming more and more popular by the week. We thank you for being here. I know a lot of you got the day off. I hope all of you have the day off, but no days off in the world of sports, especially when you're covering a team that's got legitimate Super Bowl aspirations.
One thought on that today is what we call Black Friday. And so right now, if you're in the chat and maybe you're in line fighting your neighbor for a chance to save $49.99 on a Samsung, give us a shout out. We'll recognize the people in those lines getting ready to shop. Damon, were you hey, let's go sleep in line at Kohl's to get a deal tomorrow kind of a guy?
Never. No.
I've got a tent. I've got a tent in front of Best Buy in San Ramon, and I am going to get the blankety blank tomorrow. In the middle of the night. No,
I always thought Black Friday to me was like distasteful. I always thought that, first of all, hey, why not offer these savings over a time frame that allows people to shop at their own pace instead of having the, I always thought like it was like a less than fortunate people Olympics where you saw like nice old ladies put bricks in their purses and beat each other over the head for the last remaining Cabbage Patch doll. Like there's something so gross about this rampant mass consumerism that it always like rubbed me the wrong way. Now, my grandmother was the total opposite. My grandmother loved Black Friday. Oh my God. She would be my grandmother was the kind of woman who hit Black Friday. And then the day after Christmas on December 26th, my grandmother would be back out. And that's when she would buy all of her on sale wrapping paper for next Christmas.
Wow.
I mean, woman, that was a generation that
I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
To another level.
I in college, one year I worked at the Christmas store at Macy's, and sure enough, the day after Christmas, people were coming in buying tons and tons of ornaments.
Yeah, all the stuff you need for next year.
I'll take 7 gallons of tinsel. You got a gold garland and a silver garland? I'll take them both. It's a wrap. I'm getting 50% off, right? Yep. All right.
I'll take all the tinsel you got.
See that tree right there? Every ornament on it. I want it wrapped, and I'll take it all. Thank you.
Wrap it, ship it. Merry Christmas. Here's $8 to pay for all of it.
Right. Now that's staying ahead of the game. I mean, that's we're playing checkers over here. They're playing chess.
What we have is an awful lot to talk about from that game last night. But as always, Lawrence, we'll save our opinions for later. We begin with just the facts. 49ers are now 8-3. Them's the facts. They got a 2-game lead in the NFC West over Seattle. They've won 10 consecutive regular season games against NFC West opponents. And for the first time in franchise history, have won consecutive road games up in Seattle. So that's a pretty good place to start because this is still the best rivalry in the NFC West. The Rams, even with an NFC title game win over the 49ers, have not supplanted 49ers and Seahawks in my mind. And I don't think they have in yours either because we've just seen so much Shanahan ownage over Sean McVay in the regular season. 49ers and Seahawks always has that element of something weird could happen. And last night's game was dying for something weird to break out. There was the special teams play was begging for something really weird to happen all night long. Didn't quite happen, but these two teams bring out the best in each other at times, the worst in each other at times, and it's a real rivalry, man. The rivers run deep.
Well, no question. And, it's funny to me, there was one of the themes of this game was the fact that, the 49ers didn't acquire Jason Verrett and have had cornerback issues, and they're unknown about the 2 young corners. And both in that first half, Samuel Womack down the ball on the 2, and then you had Darrell Lutter Jr. chasing down D. Eskridge, showing amazing athleticism to make that tackle to save a touchdown. Those 2 young corners last night definitely stood out.
And there was another rookie that impacted his special teams play in a great way. Ronnie Bell jumped on a fumble that Ray McLeod coughed up, and thank goodness he did that. That could have been a game-turning moment had the 49ers not recovered that. So rookies on deck for the Niners last night. Just the facts, and I guess this is a little bit of an opinion thrown in here, but the fact is that was not Brock Purdy's best game. When we sit around and we talk about all that Brock Purdy has done or might do this year. I bet you that game on Thanksgiving in Seattle isn't even in the conversation. He was efficient, though. 21 of 30. His completion percentage is always where it needs to be. He throws for 209 yards, a touchdown, and a passer rating of 86.7. The interception, the pick six, was a ball that he threw to Christian McCaffrey, and I'm sure Purdy would be the first guy to tell you that needs to be 2 hands south of where it was. That ball needs to come down, but the tip drill began. And in the only touchdown that Seattle scored, Purdy unfortunately threw that one away. But for that moment, I thought a very good, very efficient, sort of a just wear beige and blend into what is going on here. And what is going on here is a running attack with McCaffrey and Deebo that is, like I said, really coming together.
Yeah, I mean, Purdy made a number of plays, obviously, and he completed 70%. Wasn't his best game, and the pick six, obviously, was the biggest negative. But, it was really almost like back-to-back passes there that were bad. Those were, I thought, his worst passes of the day. But overall, I mean, the 49er offense in the first half, I mean, the defense was fantastic the entire game, but the 49er offense in the first half had, 24 points and 200 and something yards, 224 yards. It was an impressive offensive performance, but not Purdy's best.
McCaffrey's 11 rushing touchdowns this season are the most by a 49er running back in a single season. What? I couldn't believe that. The glorious history of the San Francisco 49ers, it was Frank Gore's 10 touchdown season. There might have been another name on that list too who had 10, but McCaffrey, the first running back ever to punch in 11 touchdowns rushing. His 16 total touchdowns this season are also the most ever by any 49er running back in the history of the franchise. Again, this is just the facts. Here comes a little opinion, but I also think it's a fact, Larry. This guy's one of the single greatest weapons this franchise, which invented pretty much offensive weaponry in the 80s and redefined it. He's one of their greatest players of all time. Right now, if his career ends tonight, Christian McCaffrey goes down as one of the single greatest San Francisco 49ers to ever put on the uniform.
I mean, I just feel privileged, man. I've watched his entire career. I mean, I was doing the Stanford pregame show when he was at Stanford. He had a bowl game against Iowa that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And the Niners swung and missed in the 2017 draft. They took Solomon Thomas third. This kid went eighth. I know John Lynch has probably been kicking himself ever since, and he found a way to right that wrong. And you knew when they traded for him last year, Damon, that not only was he going to have a good year last year, but that the next year, this year, was going to be like, oh my goodness, maybe the bust out greatest year of McCaffrey's career, because he was finally in a place where everything worked and where he was totally comfortable. He is just fit in so perfectly, and you're seeing the best of a great, truly great football player. And I can't wait to see what he does next week against Philadelphia. He had that amazing touchdown run against the Eagles last year in the playoffs. Maybe he can be the difference maker in Philly next Sunday.
So many talking head shows, are trying so hard to just jump with both feet right into a who's your MVP conversation way too early. Again, it's not even Christmas yet. Everyone calm down. It's too early to talk about MVP. But when we do, I think Christian McCaffrey will be the only non-quarterback legitimately in the conversation. And I think he will be in the year-end conversation for MVP.
No doubt. No doubt. He's having that kind of a year. It'll probably wind up going to a quarterback. Let's be honest.
It always does.
Seems like it's become a quarterback award. But he's having an amazing year. And to me, it's the cutting, the vision, watching him right now is just, he can catch the ball to the backfield. You can isolate him. What I saw last night, the best I've ever seen him, was the pick and slide, where he's reading blocks and he's weaving in and out, and he's always, we know he's explosively fast. He can get to the edges, hit, quick hitter inside. He can be gone. Lots of great second and third efforts, But as far as that natural pick and slide that the great running backs have, it's been somewhat of a work in progress. I thought last night, was the best I've seen him just kind of weave through the defense. And that's next level stuff for him, man.
19 carries, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground to go along with 5 catches for 25 yards through the air. McCaffrey's 11 rushing touchdowns and 5 receiving touchdowns through 11 games make him just the 5th player in NFL history and the first in my lifetime since 1975. I was born in 75. He's the 5th player in NFL history and the first in my lifetime to record 10 or more rushing touchdowns and 5 or more receiving touchdowns through the first 11 games of the season. In other words, he is off to the single best dual threat running back start that we've ever seen. And in our lifetime, starting with Roger Craig, evolving into, Edgerrin James and Marshall Faulk and LaDainian Tomlinson. This guy is having a better year this year than any of them had through 11 games in any of their glorious Hall of Fame careers. And he is just ridiculously special. And I look, with all due respect to Brock and the quarterback and the importance of that position, I think Christian McCaffrey is the most important player on this team. There's no one that can come and do what he does regularly. Although it was nice to see Elijah Mitchell involved, running very well. And you called this out, Larry, a couple weeks ago. You said, Elijah Mitchell's almost been undone because he hasn't been put into leverage situations and he doesn't get everybody's best, or it doesn't just, it wasn't the moments where he needed to really shine. He's been put into some high leverage moments and he's thrived in them. Over 5 yards per carry last night for Elijah Mitchell. So that's a good sign.
Oh, he's such a nice player. I mean, he's got 4.3 speed. Yesterday, almost 6 yards a pop. 7 carries for 39 yards. He had a 13-yard run. He's got great instincts. So he's a great short yardage runner if you can keep the bodies off of him in the backfield. He's not the biggest guy, but he's got great feel between the tackles. He seems like he almost always gets what it's blocked for. Whatever you block it for, that guy will get that and then some. He always finishes falling forward, which is a running back coaches love that. He does not fumble. Knock on wood. That continues, but that goes back to Louisiana. He can catch the ball. I mean, his main problem is he's a smaller back who's kind of got a big man's game where he runs between the tackles. And you wonder about durability long term, but if he's healthy, and right now he is, he's really, really good. And Kyle likes to use him, Damon, as a finisher because he doesn't fumble and he does have great instincts. And if you see the 49ers in any kind of big situation going forward, get a huge second half lead, you're going to see them throw Mitchell in there for a few carries because he's very dependable. And, as I said, won't turn it over.
I'd still like to see Mason get a little run, but now I'm officially like splitting hairs of complaining, and there shouldn't be much complaining when you're winning 3 games in a row dominantly.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I like to see Mason too. I know Mason has big time potential. I see kind of a poor man's Marshawn Lynch with Mason, and I think he's an untapped deal. And I think if they had him and could spring him on a couple of runs and just kind of show everybody that, hey, this is a 3-headed monster at running back with all bases covered. I mean, I think the Niners have tremendous talent at running back, and I'd like to show off all of those guys because I think they're all a little different. And also when a team shows that they've got 3 guys who they can be successful running it with, it puts even more pressure on a defense because it's like, oh my God, they just got a can full of guys. And we're not even talking about Deebo, who's also a great runner, Aiyuk, Ray, Kittle, all these other weapons that they have. To me, the play of the freaking year was I mean, if you want to talk about how a box score is deceiving, go look at the Seahawks box score from last night and look that Jawan Jennings had 1 catch for 7 yards. He had 1 catch for 7 yards. It was one of the best highlights of the season. as he outdueled 4 different guys to get a first down when there was no way in hell he should have. So that was an all-heart play.
If Jennings' 7 yards were a newborn baby, it would have come out with a full beard wearing a suit. It was the most mannish 7 yards you're going to find on a football field this year. You're right. He was all man, all that is man in those 7 yards. That was huge. 49ers scored a touchdown, Larry, on their opening possession for the 7th time this season. They've scored an NFL high 52 points on the opening possession of games this season. I've always said opening drives at the beginning of games, coming out of halftime, and, how do you play out of a bye week are a real litmus test for coaching. And it just shows you how much Kyle can dial up some real trouble for teams when they're just, acclimating themselves into the game. The coin just landed on the ground. We're underway. Next thing you know, you're backed up to your own 10-yard line, and the Niners are having this incredible opening drive once again, happened up in Seattle. The 49ers scored 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half, were the most in a half that the team has scored since 2021. Brandon Aiyuk has now scored a touchdown in 3 consecutive games for the first time in his career. He got out of Seattle with 2 catches, 50 yards, and the back-breaking score in the fourth quarter, which was among the most beautiful passes that Purdy threw all night long. And even though this is more of a special teams fact, I'll put it into the offensive fact just to save everyone time. Jake Moody, 32-yard field goal, and perfect on all 4 points after touchdown. Again, we didn't use the name Jake Moody in the game, which means he has a good game. Larry, we didn't really use the name Jair Brown in this game, which means he had a good game.
Yeah, and to me, the exciting thing about last night's game, and there were a number of really exciting things, but the exciting thing to me is the way you're seeing the depth of this defense bubble up. Now they've got Chase Young. Now, because they've got Chase Young, man, Armstead and Hargrave inside look incredible, and Bosa's going off. But that second D line of Cleveland Farrell, Javon Kinlaw, Kevin Givens, Randy Gregory, they're doing nice things. And then you've got, Greenlaw looks rejuvenated, from the bye week. But, Warner and Greenlaw are tremendous. But now you've got, D. Winters starting to pop up, and Flanagan Fowles and Burks are making an impact. And then you look at that secondary. Yeah, they lose Afunga, but Mooney Ward, who I thought went down with a serious injury, but then it was just cramps. But you got Mooney Ward, Tayshaun Gibson. But I'll tell you the other thing is that now, Womack and Lutter, and I didn't even mention Ambry Thomas. I thought that interception that Ambry Thomas had yesterday, Damon, showed that he is a potentially excellent player. I mean, there's not that many guys who he's physically everything you want. In some ways, Ambry Thomas is the physical prototype of what you're looking for in a corner. And I see why they drafted him so high. His talent is off the charts, and that interception was phenomenal. So you look at Lenore's young, he's playing well. Ambry's young, he's playing well. Jair Brown's young, he's playing well. Lutter looks great. Womack looks great. They may have lost George Odom, and I don't know if people are suggesting Quantrez Knight, but Odom has either a fully torn or partially torn bicep. So they may lose one of their all-pro special teamers for the year. We'll find out more about that later today. But to me, seeing the depth of this defense and seeing Ambry Thomas and some of these young DBs kind of show themselves, all these guys can play. Womack can play. Ambry can play. I really believe what I saw from Lutter. Lutter can really play. So maybe, not getting a corner, and we'll see. Maybe the Niners say they still want Jason Verrett. Maybe they'll go for Verrett, but their defense is starting to look really special.
Why do you think it took the coaching staff several games into this year to start trusting Ambry Thomas and turn to him as a solution?
It's a great question. I mean, there's some inconsistency to the way he prepares. I don't know. He's had some moments where they're less than stellar, but I mean, I'm just talking about if you're looking for the physical prototype. This guy played at Michigan. He ran a 4.4 flat. He's 6 feet 190. That's like an ideal size for the corner. He's there. You heard Wilkes told us last week or the week before that, he likes Ambry in the run game as a run defender. And then you've seen what he is as a pass defender. But to me, the highlight of his career was last night, because he ran the way he cut that route off and jumped it. It was and got the pick and then got his feet down on the sideline. I mean, it was a tremendous play. Tremendous play.
Back-to-back games with tremendous plays. Remember, he nearly had a 98-yard touchdown return, just a week before. So, sideline violation flag. But it was a good game for the 49ers defensively. 6 sacks up in Seattle. First time that they've had 6 sacks or more in a game since week 5 of last season. Nick Bosa with 5 tackles, 2 sacks of Geno Smith. He's now got 8 on the season, 51 in his very young career. He's 4th on the franchise's all-time sack list, and he is a half a sack away from Ahmad Brooks at number 3 all-time. So I like his chances to be the 49ers' third most sack artist by the end of the Eagles game, hopefully. 49ers defense has held opposing offenses without a 100-yard individual rusher in 38 consecutive games now. That is the longest such active streak in the NFL. And look, Seattle didn't score an offensive touchdown. The Seahawks' first 5 possessions gained a grand total of 15 yards. And that's tough to do to anybody anywhere. And it's really hard to do to Seattle up in Seattle. That crowd is a great crowd. And I'll tell you, 49ers fans, Larry, they've taken over just about every single stadium that the Niners have played in this year. Niners fans didn't take over that stadium last night. Seattle will not let that happen up there.
There were an awful lot of people there.
Oh, sure. There were a lot. There were a lot.
Did you see the video of the parade of Niner fans walking into the stadium? I just saw it this morning. I was like, wow. But I didn't hear them like I heard them in Pittsburgh week 1.
No, there weren't enough of them to take that green highlighter color that's the worst uniform in football and just turn the place red. I mean, the 49ers go and play the Rams, and they're sitting in a red stadium down in Los Angeles. The 49ers it's a lot of red everywhere. Jacksonville, that entire stadium was red, for goodness sakes. So, look, all due respect to the Seahawks. Like, that's a legitimate football team. That's a legitimate franchise. They got great fans that are passionate, that don't sell their tickets to the opponent. And those are the kind of football fans that I respect. I really do. They might be a little nouveau riche for you old school diehard Niner fans. But look, the Seahawks are this team's chief rival. And you always want your rival to have a level of gravitas to it, because why are they your rival? It's because they can come out here and do the things that we do. And I've always respected the Seahawks in the Pete Carroll era, and I think a lot of 49er fans might have hated this team and been frustrated, but with an element of respect baked in there too. That is a well-run team. It truly is. And look, last year was supposed to be and they're gone and we never have to hear from them again. And they were a playoff team with Geno in the first year. It's
a good organization. Let's be honest. I mean, John Schneider is a very, very good general manager. He's been there for a while. Him and Pete do a really good job. Pete coaches the team. John picks the talent. And, look what they've been able to do. I mean, DK Metcalf in the second round and, building up their offensive line last year, Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross. Last year, they went to the playoffs with 2 rookie tackles and 2 rookie corners. And look at the way they draft in the secondary with Kobe Bryant and Devin Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen and some of these guys. Boye Mafe was a second-round pick. I mean, they do a nice job. They've rebuilt their team. They're aggressive. They're not there yet. They don't have their quarterback. We'll see. If this team, I'll tell you what would scare the hell out of me is if the Seahawks got Michael Penix. If the Seahawks wind up with Michael Penix and the way it looks like looking at the mock drafts, I think Penix is going to go top 10. maybe top 5. He's, going in the 20s in a lot of these mock drafts, and they'll clearly have a pick where if they wanted to take Penix, they could. I don't know. That's an April conversation, but that would scare me if the Seahawks with those receivers got Michael Penix.
As good and as much tip of the cap respecting we have for the 49ers or for the Seahawks, the 49ers just whooped their ass in that first half in a big way. But for one special teams play on Seattle's first kick return of the game, I thought, Larry, that was one of the single best starts in any Kyle Shanahan game that he's been coaching the 49ers. It was 14-3 on the scoreboard. It was basically 150 yards gained to 0 in the first 17 minutes of the game. In the 18th minute, Ambry Thomas gets that interception that we were just talking about. Then you had a punt pin Seattle at the 2-yard line when points weren't found after the Ambry Thomas interception, but a great special teams play right there. Wisnowski has just got some English that he puts on his ball that has made it hard to catch and easy to pin down. He's an A-plus punter, there's no doubt. Seattle got 1 first down on its first 4 drives. The 49ers punching a touchdown on that McCaffrey twirling run into the end zone. The guy's legs just never stop. It's 21-3 at that point. And with 3 minutes left in the first half, the Seahawks had 1 first down and had run 14 grand total plays in the game, in the half. And then the 49ers got their special teams break of the season when Charlie Warner rearing himself in this game. He also had a catch in the game, which is rare for Charlie. But he was a big part of the fumble on special teams that was recovered by Ronnie Bell, and that turns into a field goal before halftime. So instead of just being up 21-3, you're now up 21 points, and they just, again, they whipped the Seahawks in a fashion where I thought this team might quit at halftime. And full credit to Seattle, they didn't. But that's about as hard as you're allowed to beat a football team in a first half of a football game in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, the halftime box, Niners, 16 first downs, Seattle, 3. The Niners, 225 yards on pace for 450. The Seahawks in the first half, 56 total yards. The Niners in the first half outrushed them outrushed them 92-18. And I mean,
even that close.
Right. Yeah. And we're +2 in turnovers. So yeah, the 49ers destroyed them in the first half. And what can you say? I mean, it was a complete strong effort across the board by the 49ers in the first half. And then, Seahawks kind of circled the wagons. But Brock Purdy in the first half, 15 of 20, 134 yards, only the 1 sack. McCaffrey in the first half went for almost 6 yards a carry. Deebo had 5 catches for 70 yards in the first half. Deebo has these halves where when he has a monster half, the 49ers look like the best team in football. Think about Deebo's first half in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs and what it would have looked like in that game if he could have replicated that in the second half. Instead, in the second half, he got 2 touches. It was an amazing first half, though, in the Super Bowl. And yesterday, he was amazing in the first half. So, yeah, the 49ers, at halftime, it was a complete beatdown. And then the Niners took their foot off the gas a little bit, and Seahawks came out with some intensity, and I expected they would. They weren't gonna turtle up. They were gonna come out fighting, and sure enough, they did. And then the Niners put them away.
I mean, look, when you got Pete Carroll whipping gum just indiscriminately behind him, I wonder how many people behind Pete Carroll have been hit in the face with a wad of gum coming out of Pete's mouth. I mean, he whipped that thing, didn't look at all where it was going.
You know who did that back in the day was Ditka, threw gum into the stands at Candlestick. Now, he was getting heckled something fierce, and he just took out his gum and hurled it into the crowd. There's something really vile about that, by the way. I don't want anything in your mouth on me.
at any point in time. Like my single greatest fear is when you're having an in-person close talk with someone, and maybe you're eating or something, and a little bit of the food in your mouth goes flying out and lands like somewhere on their face. Like that is as bad as I think I feel as a human when that happens.
Well, yeah, that's a bad one. That's a bad one. The question is, do you call your shot? Do you be like, hey, right there, you
got to come admit it. You got to be.
No, have you ever been talking to somebody and then you're on the receiving end of that crap, and then you just pretend like it didn't happen? Just on.
Oh no, I can't let that slide. I always have to be like, we all know what just happened.
Whoa, right? Hey, what the heck is going on? But I've had a couple of those conversations where, you've been on dates, maybe your date, a little spittle hits you in the cheek. You could blow up the entire conversation right there. You could just kind of go with it. So you got to you got to make it. You got to be able to make quick decisions.
I think
it's kind of like a running back reading the hole. You get that spittle. You got like a nanosecond to react. Either I'm going to react, or you know what? Yeah, I'm going to lose this battle, but I'm going to win the war.
I still remember the worst dating moment of my entire life. I mean, it's burned into my brain. I'm sitting there after a high school dance at a friendlies, getting sundaes after the high school dance. And I even remember everyone at the table. It was Jason Christiana, Alicia Patrick, Kimberly Durante, and me. And Jason, who was my buddy, made me laugh. And I laughed so hard with ice cream in my mouth that ice cream and boogers and just everything came out of my nose, and I caught it. It was the worst. Luckily, it didn't hit anyone. Might have got a little on Kim. Let's be honest. We didn't really date much after that night. But anyway, Larry.
Luis Fuentes in the chat says, Larry, if you see my comment, say what's up. Luis, we see you. What is up? And then he drops this one. 809 in the chat. Hit the like button. Well, that must be a few days ago, because now there's over 1,000 in the chat.
That's very nice. Good to have everybody 1,000 in the room. Over on my channel, we're north of 200. So again, it grows. It happens. And 49ers Wake Up Larry, I don't even think I'm exaggerating. I think this is the most viewed day after 49ers show in the world, much less from the Bay Area. I think we're global at this point. So congratulations to the both of us and everyone watching here today. It's great to have you in. Hopefully Thanksgiving was great. Hopefully it's a day full of leftovers and some fun football. Tomorrow we got Michigan, Ohio State, for goodness sakes.
We get NFL football today.
And we get a Black Friday game. You're right about that.
And the rumor is that they floated this one with the kind of the idea of trying to kind of push for late in the year, either Friday or Saturday action, and cancel Thursdays, because the Thursday ratings have been garbage.
Really? Well, here's the thing. The problem with the Thursday ratings is you got to go to an app. That's why they're, to me, a Thursday game right. that I'm not really interested in. I'm going to want to watch like a Warriors game or some NBA game on a flip back. And when you put on, if you're just watching Amazon, I just can't hit flip back. And it sends me, I watch less Thursday night football when there's something else on than I ever have. So, take that for what it's worth. It's going to be a fascinating experiment today, though. All the targeted advertising that Amazon will do through your purchasing habits. Like, there are going to be targeted ads coming directly to you during commercial breaks, where you are going to be able to put that item in your Black Friday shopping cart. So this could really, this is the future.
That's the future of mail shopping, is you just sit there, watch a football game and be like, that.
I'll take it.
Art, click.
Push.
Honey, I went shopping. You said you wanted to go shop. Here, I'll watch the game and I'll just shop in between the timeouts.
This is the future of sports and commerce, and today will be a grand social experiment, which over the recorded course of human history we've never quite had before. So,
we can be like Wall-E or something. What was that movie? It was like that. It was like a statement where in the future they were like laying in a chair just sipping things.
Putty
Get me that.
And it was Wall-E, which, by the way, is charming. And all he wants to do is hold that robot's hand the whole movie, Larry. Put a little tear in my eye. Okay. Back to Deebo Samuel, because you're right. When the Niners look like a holy shit football team, it's always a game where Deebo is heavily involved. Last night, a season high 7 catches. So he was more involved in the passing game last night than any other game that he had been involved with in a couple of years almost. 4 carries, 13 yards, not a grand total, but an untouched touchdown with a 2-yard rushing touchdown. 49ers first of the game. And just to let you know that there was a dedicated, like, Deebo is all over this game plan choice made by Kyle Shanahan. This wasn't Purdy just hitting open targets. There was a choice to get him super involved. He even attempted a pass, Larry. Like, that's how much Deebo was involved in this game plan. He
was smart enough to throw it away, to not take the loss, right?
Exactly the point that I was going to make.
Oh, okay.
One of the best passes of the night was the one that Deebo decided this trick play isn't there. Instead of me getting buried for a 4-yard loss, I'm going to make the right quarterback decision and just get rid of this ball. For whatever reason, Aiyuk didn't pop open. And I don't know if that was Aiyuk not having the play, or if that play was called at the line, or how it changed, but Aiyuk didn't pop open, and Deebo made the right choice. It's one of Deebo's best games of the year, bar none. And when the Niners are at their holy shit level scariest, again, it's a game that he is really thriving in. He's someone who we've criticized. I mean, I'll keep the we out of it. Larry, he's someone that I've criticized for vanishing sometimes in games. And he has. Deebo is a better all-around player than he is just pure wide receiver. And when he is involved all the way around, it's when he's at his best. And when he's at its best, the Niners are at their best.
Well, he enables the Niners to do 2 things: be explosive and take care of the ball. That was his second highest output of the season last night. He catches 7 passes for 79 yards on 9 targets. But the Niners checked it down quite a bit last night. And, they can find him on that second level. They can also hand it to him. You can create touches for him if you want. And he's a tone setter. He's a true physical tone setter. I mean, when you think of the 49ers on offense, in a lot of ways, he's part of what makes them kind of super dynamic, because he can run away from you or through you. And it's when he's going, his game, unfortunately, causes contact, or fortunately, whatever way you want to look at it. And that contact sometimes leads to nagging injuries. But man, if you got a healthy Deebo, juiced up, gassed up, watch the fuck out, man. That guy's unfreaking believable.
By the way, True Blue Forever coming in with a Wally shout out. It's a great movie. It really is. Larry, we are almost ready to slip into hour number 2 here of 49ers Wake Up. Again, you could start your day any way you want to on a day off. Thank you for starting it with us. It's wonderful to have you here. It's good to see you once again. Obviously, everything in this football season is gearing up to what is next for the 49ers, this game in Philadelphia. Larry and I will be previewing it. Larry, are we coming back with the 49ers Wake Up on Monday, where we're going to just start waking up and looking at the Eagles?
Absolutely. We're going to we're double dipping this week.
We're going to bookend it like Shanahan loves to score before the half and then get the ball coming out of the second. That's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap around score this weekend. So a 49er Wake Up coming to you on Monday. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to the Eagles. And we will save all that, because this is about what happened up in Seattle last night. Larry, I see you've been starring. You've been looking at some supers. Let's hop into the chat. What do the people want to talk about today?
Elite Archer says, Larry, your BFFs of the Niners won in spite of Purdy. Crazy talk. Jason Lutz, people keep doubting Brandon Aiyuk. He's been on a tear since you said he was disappointing. Also, is Ambry turning into a guy, or is he blowing coverages still? First of all, on Ambry is turning into a guy.
Yes.
As far as Aiyuk, all I said, to quote myself correctly, was that I, Larry Krueger, based on what I'd seen this summer in training camp, which was maybe as good a wide receiver players I've ever seen since Jerry, was disappointed halfway through the year at Brandon Aiyuk's touchdown numbers solely. That was the point. The rest of it was just back and forth garbage. The truth was that was the point. I said, you know what? Here we are 8 games in, and he's got 2 touchdowns. I thought he was going to have, last year he had 8. I thought he was going to have 12 to 15. Right now at the halfway mark, he's on pace for 4. And I'm like, I'm surprised and disappointed. And since then, yeah, he's got, I think, 4 more or 3 more.
45 catches, 881 yards.
5 total.
5 touchdowns with 3 coming in the last 3 games. First time in his career he scored touchdowns in 3 consecutive games. Larry,
he's awesome. I mean, I never said the guy was bad.
Per catch, 19.6 yards per catch for Brandon Aiyuk. He is.
Yeah. You could see it this summer.
First degree.
This summer he was the greatest I've seen. High ball, low ball, in, out. He acted like every ball in the air, it was like personal.
Right. He caught everything but COVID in training. I mean,
he was amazing. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, let's give Wilkes some love. Yeah, I mean, Wilkes' defense. But, this is what happens when Greenlaw gets healthy. They add good, faster, younger DBs who start to play well, and then you add Chase Young up front. That's what happens. You're going to get better. I don't think it's about Wilkes on the sidelines, but you know what? If it helps, God bless it. Mike Baker said, just asking. Grant said Kyle lost confidence in Purdy after that interception, but I think that last touchdown pass to Brandon Aiyuk more than made up for it. Agree? I absolutely would disagree with the idea that Kyle lost confidence.
There is no lack of confidence in Brock Purdy from Kyle Shanahan. There is not a single play. There is not a game that can be played, whether it went north or south, that will change Kyle Shanahan's opinion of Brock Purdy. And here's Kyle Shanahan's opinion. He loves that kid.
Oh, well, I mean, did you see him in the post-game presser? Kyle was once again asked, is Brock Purdy an elite quarterback? Is he a Super Bowl quarterback? And Shanahan says that, and of course, Shanahan is a real football guy, who's not afraid to run from a topic, said he hates the entire conversation. He hates it all. He was asked again whether Purdy's a Super Bowl quarterback, and Purdy went 21 of 30. So we're talking about 70%, 209 yards, a touchdown. He had the interception that was run back for a touchdown. He said the words elite and Super Bowl quarterback, I mean, this is the NFL. Kyle Shanahan said in the post-game press conference, you've got to have a really good football team to even have a chance to get there. And when you have a really good football team, you better have a really good quarterback. And when you do that, you still better have luck with injuries, and you still got to play good defense. You got to do everything. There have also been a lot of great quarterbacks who haven't won Super Bowls, and the only ones who do don't win them on their own. They've got to be a really good team. And they've got to have a good defense. And there's so many things that go into it. I always kind of hate the conversation. I mean, it really is. It's like, there's a whole faction that won't believe in Brock Purdy till he wins the Super Bowl. But you know what? That's okay. I get the feeling that all, that negativity works in Brock's favor, because this is a kid who plays the game with a major chip on his shoulder. So I think the doubters fuel him. So keep doubting. If you're a doubter, just keep on doubting, because he's fueled by it, and it motivates him. And that's a great thing. That's what you need. A young, talented, motivated guy with a chip on his shoulder is exactly what the doctor ordered. And we've got this one as well from James Foster. He says Mitchell can do what CMC does in the offense, so Kyle doesn't have to change the game plan when he comes in. Mason is a north-south runner and with no hands. I don't know if he has no hands.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no hands. And I also would say that north-south runners are always a good thing. I've never heard a north-south runner being used to disparage the way a running back ran. But I hear what you're saying. There is more, the Venn diagram of Elijah Mitchell and Brock or Christian McCaffrey's talents are more of a perfect circle than they are between McCaffrey and Mason. But I do think that Mason just provides a changeup. And a pitcher's, a fastball's best friend is a changeup. And I just think he's a changeup.
He's a great trap runner. He's a one cut and go monster, I think is what James is saying. He doesn't have the pick and the slide of weaving in and out. He doesn't read things, and he doesn't have a lot of subtlety there. But this guy moves the pile. He's 230 and he's freaking fast. You should get him at least 2-3 carries a game. Sean O'Leary says,
gotta admit, 20 spot. I mean, coming over the top rope with the 20 spot.
Look at Sean. Sean's flexing on us, saying, I got cash. I got cash to burn. He says, got to admit, when I'm wrong, I didn't like the Chase Young trade because I felt they needed to shore up the secondary, but that improved rush improves the back end too. Also, nice to see Mooney Ward with a clean game. Yeah, no doubt.
Sean, I'll agree with you on every point that you just made. I didn't dislike the Chase Young move. I just didn't think it addressed what was the biggest concern, which was a concern in that secondary at the time. But it is, like Kyle's quote was intimating, it all works together. This all fits together. It's a football team. You shouldn't evaluate it as a football player. It's a football team, and this team fits very, very well together. And his point on Mooney Ward, he might have had his best game of the year, Larry. I mean, he was,
he was made. I think the Niners, when they signed Mooney Ward, they were thinking DK Metcalf because he's the perfect guy to shut down Metcalf. He is the anti-Metcalf. Because what's Ward struggle with? He struggles more with the guys who at the top of the route get really, they can move a lot. They get great body control and react to the ball. Metcalf's more of a full speed glider. He doesn't make a lot of cuts, a lot of go patterns. And Mooney Ward's big and fast and can run with him. And he's like made to defend DK. And DK, he's done a great job against DK, and that's part of the reason the Niners have turned the tide here in this matchup and have won the last four, is that he kind of has ownage right now a little bit on DK.
Larry, before you get back to another chat, just while it's still fresh in my mind, I don't want to talk about what anyone thinks of Brock Purdy because we all know
doesn't matter.
Look at it this way. People have basically chosen sides and they refuse to come off their side. And some people have chosen incorrectly. And so they're going to be wrong about how they evaluate them all year. Whatever. It doesn't matter. What we also have going on in football right now is an experiment in the art of the elite quarterback argument. There is no more elite quarterback in this league than Patrick Mahomes. Would you agree with me on that? I mean, he's the best.
He's the top of the heap.
Yep. Top of the heap. Exactly.
He's the standard bearer.
The tip of the spear is Patrick Mahomes. I've never seen a quarterback enter an all-time debate as quickly as Patrick Mahomes has entered the all-time debate. You want Joe, you want Elway, you want Johnny Unitas, if that's the generation you're from. You want Marino, but again, people will be like, well, he never won a Super Bowl, so I'm going to hold it against him, which is ridiculous because
Bradshaw.
Whoever you're, this guy would be the guy I would start to win one game for my life. That's the guy. Like Patrick Mahomes entered that conversation as early in his career as any quarterback is allowed to enter an all-time conversation. That is how much of the real deal he is. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs this year. I was told all you need is an elite quarterback. Well, then how come they're not? They've been shut out 3 halves in a row in their second halves. How come they're averaging 13 points a game? They've still got their elite quarterback, but they now have a team with frying pan hands all around them. And when Travis Kelce has an off game, all of a sudden the Chiefs aren't chiefing quite like they used to. So, the standard that is applied, the hypothetical scenario that people want applied to Brock Purdy, saying that in a worse situation, he wouldn't be this good. Look at Patrick Mahomes. In a worse situation, he's not half as effective as he used to be. He still throws lasers and darts and has more arm angles than, flamenco dancers got tap shoes. It's incredible what this guy can do. But the team around him isn't as good as it used to be. So your hypothetical, Brock wouldn't be this good if he weren't on this good of a team, that gets filed under no duh. Of course not. No player in this league is as good as they can be when they're in a worse situation. And right now, Mahomes is in a worse situation than he's been with talent around him at any point in time in his career. And that's why the Chiefs are struggling a little. And by the way, when I say struggling, that's a sliding scale of Chiefs level struggling. They're still fantastic, but it's a different feeling. And then, just a couple of years ago, let's run the experiment. Let's reverse engineer it. You got a really, 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 really talented quarterback who's always been in a bad situation because he's been in Detroit. Then, boop, you pick up Stafford, you pick him out of Detroit, you put him in Los Angeles, you get him with McVay, and boom, 16 games later, it's a fucking Super Bowl. So, the point that people think that the aha that they've got over Purdy, it isn't an aha at all. It's a football truth. It takes a really good team to win a championship, not just a really good quarterback, not a quarterback on a good deal in the right situation. It takes all things to win a championship. So there you go. There's my rant. I hope it made sense.
The guy's playing at a crazy high level. And when you factor in how old he is and where he's at in his career, he's playing at he's incredible.
It's absurd.
But, here's the thing. There's also, the real advantage in the Niners. They talked about this, and Kyle's talked about this. I mean, they looked at veteran options, and they considered veteran options, and they even tried for some veteran options, and they were comfortable at trying to go that route. But at the end of the day, they either struck out or didn't want to make the expenditure to go after those veteran options. And then when they, hearing Lynch talk about it, it's like there's a big difference in the NFL. I mean, this is, when did Seattle win their Super Bowl? They won it with young Russell Wilson on a rookie contract. And that's really, I think, what the 49ers were committed to more than they were committed to Trey Lance, or more even that they're committed to Brock Purdy. It's like they won it specifically. It was about get that quarterback on a rookie deal and have Kittle and Trent and Bosa and, Aiyuk and Deebo and all these great, different transcendent type talents that they have throughout their football team. I mean, the Niners have some of the best top end talent in the entire league. And it's partly because they're paying Brock Purdy $840,000, while top tier or even just veteran middle of the tier quarterbacks are making between $25 and $40 million. Derek Carr is totally ordinary. He makes $44 million. I mean, Brock Purdy's making $850,000. It matters a ton in a cap sport. So, now it's incumbent on, it's a unique, it puts the teams that go for the rookie quarterbacks in a unique spot because, now as rookies, you're looking for somebody who can come in and win the Super Bowl. And how many young quarterbacks are ready to do that? But that's the beautiful part about this situation, is that there's a veteran-like mindset to Brock Purdy, who played 4 years in college and has all that experience. And so he's a very refined young quarterback, and you can see that already. And he's, surrounded by some of the best talents in the game in Kyle Shanahan's offense. So, yeah, the 49ers are absolutely in their go window. And if Shanahan and Lynch are going to get a Super Bowl this year, next year seem like their best opportunities.
The window is open. Here it is. The time is now to do it under the constraints that they're playing under. So this is it. They've got this year and next year to win a Super Bowl. And if it doesn't happen, it is back to the drawing board with a whole new experiment to run. But they get to run this experiment for the rest of this year and into next year. I had somebody comment.
Back to the drawing board, by the way. You still have your head coach and your quarterback. The key elements of winning a championship are you got to have the head coach, you got to have the quarterback.
Right.
And they now have in Shanahan and Purdy their head coach and their quarterback. Shanahan's probably going to coach for at least another decade because he seems like that kind of guy. And I think Purdy's 23. So their window's not just open for this year and next year. I would say it's likely the 49ers window is open. It might be open for Trent Williams or George Kittle this year, next year. But as far as the Niners with Purdy and Shanahan, I think their window's open for the next 5 to 10 years in actuality.
Well, and that's what a really good quarterback and head coach combination can do. They can hold open windows to compete in through their abilities more than any other guys on the field, but it takes more than just those two guys to really reach the championship level. And it's just set up right now. Like there's no better time than the present or next year for the 49ers to do this. I had somebody in one of the chats that I was reading and looking at the other day saying, hey, Brock has been fantastic. I'm all aboard. And if he can go ahead and sign a team-friendly deal when it's time to get paid, he'll go down as, and I was like, I understand what you want. It's a cap sport. You don't want somebody taking so much off the table that there isn't enough for anyone else. But at the same time, like Brock Purdy's already given at the good deal office. Like Brock Purdy right now is arguably playing under the single greatest contract in global sports, right? I mean, think about it. He's
a quarterback in a league that the starters get between 25 and 50, and he's making $840,000. And I saw somebody the other day say, you got to pay this guy sooner. No, you don't have to pay him sooner, but when it's time to pay him, you got to pay him in full.
Exactly. And it's a blessing to have this guy on the deal that he's on. He's got more value on his contract than I think anybody else in sports globally. I mean, I think he's the best value, bang for the buck in any professional contract, any sport, any continent. That's who Brock Purdy has been. Let's keep going. What do we got? Oh, something from Virginia. I was born in Virginia.
USS.
It'll win you.
USS LKA 116 says, Damon, Larry, great show today. 49er fan here from Virginia.
Cheers and good morning to you, sir.
Go Cavaliers or Hokies or whatever. Corey Wiggs says, I've got a perfect replacement for George Odom. Start the Bring Back Tart rally.
Where is Jaquiski? Where is he?
Jaquiski? He hasn't played. He didn't play this year or last year. I would love to see him come back. He would be great. Somebody said Quantrez, but Quantrez is on the Cardinals, and they're not going to cut him. Mike Baker said, affirming my doubts about what Grant said about Purdy and Kyle. We want an aggressive quarterback who has ice in his veins. Love your takes and show, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate you. Ready, set, rush. Great show, fellas. Derek Barnett just got released. Philly is probably going after Shaq Leonard. Thoughts on picking up Barnett with Jackson out? I would. This is how much pass rush you need in the NFL. More. Always. And
you know what?
Derek Barnett would be fantastic. I would love that veteran guy. I don't know if he could pass the physical because I know he's been dinged up. But yes, I want Derek Barnett. I want anybody who can add pass rush. I did see Drake, and he says he's working his way back. A lot of people doubt he's going to get back this year. We'll see. But yes, I want Derek Barnett.
I was just about to say, I'm not counting Drake Jackson out yet. If that injury will allow him to return, I think there's a good player in him. There really is.
Yeah. There is. There's some really good traits there.
Some defensive ends take a couple years, Larry. It's like being a big man in the NBA. It's a tough position to just come into and dominate.
That's a great point.
The Nick Bosas are far and few between.
Right. It's a technique-rich position, and you're talking about a guy who's still somewhat raw, but he's already shown flashes. This idea, there's people, and I've already seen it. You've heard it on YouTube and in blogs, and, Jackson's not it. He's not him. Bust. Get him out of here. Way premature. He's gonna fire. He's gonna be back. He's gonna improve. He's gonna have a career. Cryptic says media hypes up a young quarterback. They say you have to surround him with talent. CJ Stroud. But when they did it with Purdy, it's only winning with weapons. Yeah, it's just, CJ Stroud had 3 picks the other day. It's young quarterbacks. It's not a straight line to the top. And people, they know the lore of Niner history. Do they know the particulars?
Right. Look,
because if you look in the particulars, then what you'll really find is that Steve Young in his first playoff game was atrocious against Washington and turned it over 4 times. And I believe the team was so good that they beat Washington anyway. And Joe Montana was, 3 turnovers, I believe, in the 81 NFC Championship game. And yet, if, he won that game. He won that game with the pass to Dwight Clark. Nobody seems to remember the 3 turnovers. It's like they didn't happen. So it's just like a lot of times we remember what we want to remember, and we conveniently forget all the details. But it's a process, man. And nobody's just, I printed out a thing earlier this year. Tom Brady, maybe the greatest quarterback of all time, in his second year had a 4-game stretch where he threw 7 interceptions. All right. So, should what the Patriots have chased him out the door? No, he had already at that point shown some real, high level ability, and they stayed with him, and they went on and won all kinds of championships with him. So,
look, the
people just need to be patient.
The people who want a young quarterback instantly replaced and given up on are the same people who throw a first quarter interception in a game of Madden and hit the reset button,
or grunge quit.
Right. Look, Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions in his first season. 28 interceptions. Peyton Manning, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Folks, it's not called retirement pains. It's not called veteran pains. It's called growing pains. And everyone is afforded growing pains. You have to be. It would be ridiculous. It would be like expecting your 4-year-old to sit down and just knock out that trigonometry. I think that's not ready to happen yet.
I said grunge. I meant rage. Yeah.
Rage,
Thank you. What's good? Rage quit. Thank you.
That's all right. That's all right. Grunge, rage.
Right. Rage quit.
Grunge quit. What's grunge quitting would be like? Would be like you're just listening to like either you're listening to like Nirvana. You're listening to Pearl Jam. You're deep in Seattle mode. You're wearing a flannel shirt and you throw your flannel. That's your grunge rage.
That is awesome. Thank you for the correction there.
Hey, we make mistakes. We want to correct it in real time. No doubt about it. So, look, the things that I liked in that game, you brought it up early, Larry. I think we need to return to it. 1 catch for the manliest 7 yards in the NFL. The Juwan Jennings catch, it was phenomenal. And if you don't mind me saying, beyond Jennings' effort, you want to know what the real best part of that play was?
What's that?
An officiating crew that didn't blow an early whistle to stop it. There was moments where it looked like his forward progression could have been an overzealous, aggressive whistle could have blown that play dead before he picked up the first down. It didn't come in. Now, Seattle is a team that is leading the NFL in penalties. They had penalties called against them last night, more than the Niners did. But I thought it was a game where the officials stayed out of it, Larry. I thought that was a well-officiated NFL game. And there are so few and rare circumstances that we've said that. Let's say it when we can. I thought that was a really well-officiated football game.
Well, to me, any game where you come out of the game talking about the 2 participants and not the third team out there, the officials, is a win for the league. PR-wise and all, how it's perceived. It's just... That's the one thing I can't stand sometimes about the NBA playoffs is we're talking, and who's, all of a sudden a major topic of conversation is who's reffing tonight's games. It just came out, and it's like, oh, I've got the piece of paper in front of who's reffing the game. It's like, I don't want that to be a factor. I really don't.
Chris Paul and Scott Foster.
Do you know that? I don't need Scott Foster's stats. I don't need ref stats. Their record with this ref. Oh, I hate that.
Where's Ray Ratto when you need him? Nobody tracked referee assignments and performances quite like Ray Ratto.
Oh God. It's just, I hate it, but this is the idea of it that can we just try to pretend that these guys don't have tendencies? Can we just pretend that everybody's a good ref? Oh my God. House Pelly's got a good one here too. He says, your boy Lutter Jr. saved the touchdown. Did you see the athleticism that Darrell Lutter showed right there?
It was huge closing speed.
Oh my God.
Speed.
Eskridge was shot out of a freaking cannon and he ran him down. When I saw that and then the Womack down the ball at the 2, I was like, you know what? It's all coming together. Now the Niners have, I believe, until today, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's today, maybe it's tomorrow. Or no, maybe it's Monday. Today's Friday. Keep thinking today's Monday. I think they have till Monday or Sunday for Lutter, but Monday for Womack. I think they've got a couple days to decide whether they're going to activate those guys. Now they activated Lutter, and I guess they must have activated Womack yesterday, but I didn't see who was on the.
Or what? They're kept on IR, and that eliminates them from contention for the rest of the regular and post.
Yeah, I just don't know what their plan is. I guess they obviously activated both because they both played. So that we know. But I mean, are these guys here long term? And if so, that's a major get for the Niners to add Womack and Lutter Jr., 2 really young but very, very talented corners. I mean, you could make an argument that those 2 guys, Lutter and Womack, have as much or more talent than their starting corners. And when you look at just speed and coverage ability, there's Lutter and Womack are going to have very, very good NFL careers. So if these guys are ready to contribute this year, the Niners secondary could really get a significant lift. And to me, when you look at Chase Young and now with the impact it's had on Armstead and the way that second D line's coming together and the health of Greenlaw and Warner, and now you're seeing guys like D Winters and Jair Brown and some of these young corners. If the Niners could get some of they've drafted really, really well, and they've gotten very little impact this year off their young players. If they could get some impact off some of these players in the second half on defense, that could be the thing that pushes them over the top.
Is Mooney Ward a better player after the bye week than before? I think he is.
He's been really good all year, I think. I mean, I've been waiting for him to have the soft tissue injuries, hammies, quads, and I know he's somewhat not 100%, but I think he's been really good. Now he had the one game against Cincinnati
last night. I think it was just a cramp.
The game against Cincinnati was a tough. I mean, Jamar Chase, tough cover, and they went at him like 5 straight times in the second half, and he wrapped him up a couple times, and he just looked bad. He looked really bad. But I mean, there's Jamar Chase and the Niners were getting ambushed pretty bad, and they weren't getting home on the rush, and it's a tough position. But man, since the Bengal game, I think the last couple of weeks of Mooney Ward have been spectacular.
I thought that Brock Purdy, again, it's not it's not going to make the highlight reel, but it just shows you that there's more than a system quarterback. There's a quarterback that plays with instinct, a quarterback that can improvise. How about the fact that he's got a Seattle Seahawk dripping all over him after George Kittle made a chip block, and then it looks like it's going to be a sack, and then from the bottom of a Seahawk, boop, the football comes out, and he just flips it forward to Kittle for a 1-yard gain. I mean, very little happened on that play, but it's just Purdy doesn't give up on plays. He is always looking, his eyes are downfield as he's being jumped on. And he finds Kittle for just a little 1-yard gain. I just thought that's instincts. That's improvisation. That is more than just a system quarterback being comfortable in a pocket. By the way, great pocket for Purdy last night. Really good night for the offensive line, right?
I thought looked fantastic was Banks. I thought at left guard. Banks just looked refreshed. Banks looks like he is just hungry for a Super Bowl and will do anything for it. And then Feliciano has stepped in nicely at right guard. I agree. But I'll tell you the one aspect of Purdy that we're starting to see, and we saw it, I thought, a lot in this game, and maybe it's that fast surface in Seattle that kind of shows this, but, man, we're seeing a lot more explosiveness out of Brock Purdy as a thrower and as a mover. He's moving even laterally within the pocket. He only had, 3 runs for 1 yard, so he's not running per se, but he can. but he's really just showing explosive movement in the pocket to get away or to get to a new platform. And that explosive pocket mobility, and then the mechanics that he's thrown with, the timing, the accuracy, the pre-snap recognition. Obviously, Shanahan's play calling has been borderline brilliant in the run game, I think, the last couple of games, and all the weapons. It's like there's a lot to like about this Niner offense. There's a lot to like about this Niner defense. But to me, the one underrated aspect of Brock that's really started to show itself more is how his arm looks more explosive since the bye, and his movements in the pocket look more explosive than I think at any point I've ever seen.
He flips his hips back up field to throw on the run in a way that he just hasn't earlier in the year. So I'm definitely picking up what you're putting down. And I'm telling you, Larry, there is a naked bootleg touchdown just waiting out there for him. I mean, it's going to be an easy call. It's going to be a walk-in touchdown because everyone is going to follow McCaffrey and Deebo, and somebody's not going to keep that edge, and Brock is either going to go for a 35-yard naked bootleg keeper or take it in from the end zone from about 6 yards out. That play is there. I think Kyle's setting it up over these weeks, and it's going to happen. Hopefully that busts out and happens in Philadelphia, because they're going to have to be at their very, very best to go in and win that game. UC Steve, my wife thinks I'm crazy for turning this on. Look at it this way, Steve. If you're not going to turn her on, at least turn us on.
Oh, look at that. No, we never turn on the chat.
No. UC Steve is one of my boys. It's good to have him here. Thank you very much for watching us. And yeah, look, let's face it. The kind of fan that watches a big game and then the next morning on their day off is like, I got to go watch Damon and Larry. You're
on Black Friday when your wife was, hey, let's go to the stores and buy stuff for Christmas. No, I'm watching 49er Wake Up.
Hey, it's a bold choice. You're our kind of people who make it. Thank you very much for making it. And more people are making it than ever before. Look at it this way. Larry and I happen to be live in this moment where the entire flagship station of the 49ers is playing network radio this morning. KNBR is not even live. How pathetic is that?
That is pathetic. The day after a Niner game in the morning, Bazzy Mian says, I'm curious as to why Brock Purdy has been doing the left-handed drop like with his touchdown to Aiyuk. Any other quarterback do this? It seems both effective and distinctive.
I'm sorry, I don't even know what he's referring to.
Well, instead of dropping back this way, sometimes he'll drop back looking like he's a left-handed quarterback and then flip his hips. And I'm not sure if he's trying to give the defense a different look, but that's worth a question this week for sure.
Like he's given a southpaw stance?
Yeah, and he's done it a couple times, Damon, where he's dropped back to pass like a left-handed quarterback and almost looking to his left, and then, of course, flips his hips quickly.
Is he rolling left? I mean, he's got to be rolling left, right? I mean, the hips don't lie. You can't run in a direction that your hips aren't facing.
No, when he drops back to pass, instead of dropping back with his right shoulder deeper, he's dropping back to pass with his left shoulder deeper and then getting a look. I think it might just be providing him either a look that he wants to see on this side, or he's trying to sell it. Because what I've also noticed is he flips around to his right and then makes the throw, of course.
And it's not play action?
No, well, sometimes it could be play action, but it's not play action sometimes. Sometimes he's done it where it hasn't been play action.
Larry, I'm going to have to rewatch the tape on that one.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what's great about Purdy is just you can see he's got a total. He must be a frustrating guy to defend against, because you can see that, he knows what he's looking at. He knows what coverages he's looking at. He knows where he wants to go. I got to go look at the film again today. But Damon, the thing that stood out to me about mid-third quarter was that Brock had completed an absurd number of passes where you could tell that it either wasn't his first read or it wasn't where he looked first. Like he looked left and threw right. He looked center, threw left. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was so many times with Garoppolo, he would have almost like a one look throw. And then When he didn't like his first read, man, you started to hold your breath. Well, with Purdy, you're starting to see some advancements, I think, in that he's going through his progressions consistently, and it seemed like they took away a lot. Either he's either deking them or they're taking away his first look and he's going to a second. But either way, to play with that kind of pace and be able to go through your progressions as quickly as he does shows that he's really processing what he sees pre-snap and post-snap very quickly, which is a great indication of what's to come.
So I remember a conversation. We're going back to like Jimmy Garoppolo is the cause celeb discussion point all week long level 49 a couple years ago. And you were doing an interview with Greg Cosell. And Greg Cosell was talking about the strengths and weaknesses of Garoppolo, which were fascinating to evaluate at the time. And he said, look, first read Jimmy is the best version of Jimmy there is. Second read Jimmy, you have a steep decline, and there essentially is no third read Jimmy. Jimmy does not get to his third read. He's not comfortable. He can't find it. He doesn't throw it. He's a two-read quarterback who it gets dicey on that second read. One read, Jimmy's there. That's what Jimmy excels in one read plays. But when you got to start looking around, and Brock is maybe the opposite of that.
Right? So Brock, funny. It's so funny you said that, Damon, because like we have so many terms now in sports that make failure sound so okay. Like instead of being, man, this guy's a strikeout machine, you'd be like, there's a lot of swing and miss in his game. There's a lot of swing and miss in his game. And that, Greg Cosell used to politely say, because he was on KMBR every week, and Greg, he doesn't want to rip players. He doesn't want to be perceived as ripping, but he's also very clinical in his analysis because he's watching the film. And so he's always looking for diplomatic ways of talking about failure. And what he would say with Garoppolo over and over again, he'd be like, Jimmy is not your classic late in the down thrower. In other words, if you take away his first freaking read, the guy's a circus. You know what I mean?
But you remember this point, right? You remember
yeah.
this?
Oh, because he used to say it all the time. Jimmy is not a great late in the down thrower. And it's like, it sounds so benign, but what you really mean is if the play that Shanahan calls doesn't work, he's up shit creek. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, it was such a classic. This guy's a hacker. This guy's a swing and miss. There's a little bit too much swing and miss in his game.
All right. Look, I want to get back into the chats here in a little bit and then the things that you want to bring up and talk about here. But again, we get to Juwan Jennings and how mannish that was. Purdy, the completion to Kittle. We talked about that. Elijah Mitchell being more involved in high leverage moments. We've talked about that. Deebo being deployed like a multiverse Avenger. And it doesn't happen every Sunday, but when it does happen, the 49ers are at their best. There is one thing, Larry, that I don't like. And we've gone, what are we, an hour and 33 minutes into this show, and it's time for me to file this might be a weak spot that the Niners need to start looking at. And I like this player too, so I don't want to say that. I don't run to the podium with it.
Can I guess what it is?
Yes.
Let me see. What is Damon going to say? Wait. Who are you potentially going to eviscerate, borderline attack?
Who's it going to be, Larry?
Who's it going to be? Give me a second. Give me a second.
Are you scanning box score looking for errors and inconsistencies?
No, I'm just looking at the depth chart. I'm looking at the depth chart, trying to think like, how would Damon think? Hughes check?
No. Although we didn't even see. Did he play last night? Was he in Seattle?
He didn't make much of an impact, at least that I saw.
Again, I'm not going to on a night where the running game's popping. I'm not going to criticize a fullback for anything they did or did not do.
You better not be going at my man Colton McKivitz.
No. I think Colton is more than appointed himself and has played very, very well. He is a better version of Mike McGlinchey than Mike McGlinchey was ever a version of Mike McGlinchey.
Javon Kinlaw for being flipped over the top.
No, by the way, I thought that was a borderline ejectable play.
I did too. And not only that, it's like, dude, how strong it took to cut two guys. But I mean, dude, if you saw Javon Kinlaw standing there, he's got legs that are the base on that guy. He's like a building. I mean, to be able to flip, that might be the last guy in the world I would ever think could ever be flipped over.
Flipped like a freaking pancake.
Well, and because he left his feet, and obviously that made that provided the easiness of it.
Well,
but I mean, guy's got to be about 320.
Collinsworth even says, I haven't seen a guy body slammed on a football field like that, really, like ever. So
somebody that big too. I mean, it's amazing. That showed amazing strength. Who was that for Seattle, by the way? 68, I think it was. I got to look that up. That guy.
My complaint, Larry, is Ray McCloud. Ray McCloud has done nothing on punt return this year. There is a sure-handedness, I guess, that was even betrayed last night with his fumbled punt return that Ronnie Bell jumped on, and thank God that he did. No, that might not have been Ronnie Bell jumping on that. Ronnie Bell jumped on the fumbled punt
coverage.
Seattle fumble punt. Yes.
Right.
Ray McCloud is not doing anything for this team in the return game.
That's my guy, by the way.
I know. Look, I like Ray too. I like Ray. I think he's a smart, underrated player, but he's not giving the Niners any burst on.
How dare you attack Ray?
I just think that he is there anyone else who can return punts on this team? Anyone? I'd like to see someone else get another shot because Ray he's hesitating. I thought he had a few catch it with unencumbered catches, and you should just launch yourself, and he didn't. He's still stuttering and hesitating, and then the fumble. Bad game for Ray McCloud. He has not really been he hasn't done much. Ray hasn't done much since his so big play.
There's the you're always looking for big playability. What I really want out of that position is I want assurances. I want somebody who's dependable. Now, he had the turnover in this one, but he's normally very dependable, and he does catch the ball pretty consistently. Sometimes I wish that the Niners are so good on both offense and defense. Just don't lose it on special teams. Don't miss kicks, fumble the ball, turn it over. Just be more conservative on special teams. You don't need to win the game on special teams. You just don't want to lose it. So I like the fact that Ray gives you a veteran return guy, but yeah, he's got to make, he can't turn it over. But I love Ray, and I don't think rocking new era
84.
Ray gives me Kyle Williams vibes, or maybe I have Kyle Williams PTSD.
Maybe that's a little
he's more dependable. He's more dependable than Kyle Williams. I like Ray. I believe in Ray. We'll see where it goes. They do have other options. You could always throw Aiyuk back there if you wanted. I mean, you can do what you want. I mean, there's Aiyuk could be he was an awesome punt returner at Arizona State.
Hey, what about look at it this way. Come the playoffs, I want all stops being pulled out. I wouldn't mind to see Deebo back there returning punts in the playoffs.
You may. I mean, it's just another way to get your playmakers a touch. That's the one thing the one thing I would love to see the Niners have is what we saw yesterday from Seattle with Eskridge, just that home run hitter element. That's why I'm always intrigued by the addition of Danny Gray. I don't know if you can trust Danny Gray, but Danny Gray gives you that absolute ridiculous speed. And if you have ridiculous speed, there's always a chance you can take one to the house. I mean, if Lutter doesn't make that tackle, Eskridge is gone, and it's 7-7. And at that point, if Seattle gets a kick return touchdown and the place starts to really rock, who knows? Maybe that game is a much different game. So I thought the Lutter special teams play was very, very underrated.
Somebody in the chat saying, what about Danny Gray? Look, Danny Gray's a rumor until proven otherwise. I don't even think Danny Gray is actually a living, breathing person. I don't know if he's actually on this team.
He's been dinged up. He's been hurt. He hurt himself on one of those early returns, but I mean, nobody runs like Danny Gray. So why does he seem like he gets more chances than other people? Because he can flat out run, and speed burns, and everybody wants it.
I think Ronnie Bell could be an answer in special teams too.
He's very solid.
Yeah, just throwing it out there. Again, I'm not picking a fight with Ray Ray. I like Ray Ray. Ray Ray didn't have a good night last night. It's just, how are you going to win in Philadelphia? Something's got to pop. Give me something on special teams. Give me something. I'd like to see a little more something out of Ray Ray. That's about it. Like that's the end of my complaint department. It was such a good game last night.
You see that chat right there from Tribe? Did the Eagles sign Shaq Leonard today?
Let me see if that's, you'd figure that would be front page ESPN.com level headline. Let me look. I can't see it there. It doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I don't know. Twitter. Let me see. EAGLES, Eagles.
Dallas is showing interest is what I'm reading.
Eagles expected to have an interest. That was a day ago. I don't have anything up to date on this.
The Broncos also. Ed Werder said the Broncos have been linked to Shaq Leonard.
I mean, that's the thing. It's a waiver situation. So if there's
he's already cleared waivers.
Oh, he's cleared waivers?
He's cleared waivers, and the Colts are on the hook for the $6.1 million. So now it's just a matter of where does Shaq want to go? Where does he want to, he's probably ring chasing. So he'll probably go to Philly. I would expect he will wind up in Philadelphia. I don't understand why the Colts cut a very productive 28-year-old linebacker. And I'll tell you, if the Eagles wind up winning the Super Bowl this year, it will be partially because other teams made personnel mistakes, because they got Zach Cunningham from Tennessee. He's been fantastic all year, and I loved him at Vandy. He's a tackling machine. He's 6'4". He's got instincts. He can run like the wind. So Zach Cunningham, and if they now get Shaq Leonard, and then you've got Byard, who they, Tennessee unbelievably traded, one of the best safeties in football. I mean, Howie Roseman's a very underrated part of the Eagles' success.
I'm looking at, guys who are all over Eagles beats, and I'm not seeing anything official on Shaq Leonard. Not yet. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I still don't see it.
I'll give you one thing that I want to see is, and this is, people will be like, whoa, you were saying that Brandon Aiyuk was disappointing. I was saying his touchdown percentage in the red zone was disappointing. I'll tell you what I'm really disappointed in regards to Brandon Aiyuk. Throw him the goddamn football. My God, he had 4 targets last night. I mean, what are you doing? 4 targets? 4 targets for a guy who's this dominating? I mean, come on. Throw him the ball.
I mean, have you watched the All 22? Maybe he wasn't out there. Maybe,
I haven't watched the All 22. I watched the condensed version
by some really good coverage, and that's why Deebo popped last night.
But I mean, this guy's now in a category where you need to throw him the ball. You need to throw him the ball. He's got great ball skills. He can go high. He can go low. He's got a major league catch radius. Purdy said this guy's the real deal. Throw him more passes. I want to see him more involved.
Only 3 catches and 19 yards for George Kittle last night. Another guy who should be, a Travis Kelce level of targets.
They threw him 5 passes, though. I just think when you look at, if I told you the targets, let me see. Do I have the targets?
I got targets for everyone. Who do you want?
Yeah, here we go. Here, this is Aiyuk's had 10 targets in a game. How many times this year? Once. These are his targets so far. 8 against Pittsburgh. That's good. 6 against the Rams. 8 against Arizona. 7 against Dallas. 10 against Cleveland. Then 6 against Minnesota. 9 against Cincinnati. 3 against Jacksonville. 6 against Tampa. 4 against Seattle. I don't want to see any game where this guy doesn't have at least a half dozen targets.
Okay, so take down Tribe, because that might be incorrect. Let's get that. Let's get that comment off the screen. And more if some Brandon Aiyuk is good, more is better. I agree with you there, Larry. But isn't that the product of the offense? Isn't that the product of the design?
I'm just saying, this guy, let's not respect, that's not the right word. Let's recognize that Brandon Aiyuk is having a career year. And instead of using him as a decoy, let's force feed him a little bit. I want to see more targets for Aiyuk in the red zone, out of the red zone. I'd say double up the Aiyuk targets. Start really throwing him the ball.
I want to see it too, Larry, but I think that there's a goal of this offense is balance. A goal of this offense is not forcing something, but spreading it around to all the different playmakers. I mean, I'm not arguing with you. Brandon,
I'm just saying, like, if you look at the targets and the catches, he's got 45 catches on only 65 targets. So he's a very reliable guy. I mean,
well, and every catch
he was targeted 6 times against Arizona. He caught all 6. He was targeted 8 times against the Steelers. He caught all 8. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like there's games like that. He was targeted 6 times against Minnesota. He caught 5 of the 6. He was targeted 3 times against Jacksonville. Caught all 3. 6 times against Tampa Bay. Caught 5 of 6. I mean, I'm just saying this guy's. I mean, I'd like to see some incompletions to Aiyuk before, you know, or I'd like to see him targeted a little bit more. I think he's that special. I think they're using McCaffrey, but they're not using Aiyuk like I think he could be used. I think they could almost go to him like a true number 1 guy, but sometimes they almost forget about him.
One guy here named Charlie says, "Who gives a shit? We won the game." Charlie, do you understand what we're doing here? We talk about the football game that we saw, and we, you know, there's some things we like and there's some things we don't like, and that's why the show happens. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. 49ers Wake Up, Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify to both of our channels as well. The show is simulcast on both of our channels. No matter where you're watching, make sure you're subscribed to the other guy as well. That goes doubly for Larry's vast audience. Come on over and sprinkle a little love on me, please. It grows. This is happening. We are the best sports talk radio station in San Francisco. This show right here, I'm completely convinced of that. And I think an awful lot of people are every single time that they tune in. More and more record numbers every single time we do the show. And we will be back at it at 8 a.m. Monday morning as we do a 49ers Wake Up in Eagles week, because come Monday, it will be Eagles week. And that is a week that we have all been waiting for since the conclusion of last year's NFC title game. So big things coming for sure. Larry, you got anything up your sleeve that you still got to get out before it's all said and done?
No, I think we're good. I just, we have one more super here. Antonio Seabrook. That's what Vish was trying to tell you. He's not getting the targets.
By the way, I think Vish is fantastic. I really
Vish
like
is very
that guy.
good. Vish
yeah, I really
Vish
like
is one of the best 49er content creators.
I would agree with you.
There is.
I would absolutely agree with you.
Okay, let's see. Do we have another? No, that was the last one. Thanks to everybody on the super chats. I got a busy day today. I'm coming up here next hour. I'm going to talk with Chase Sr. because it's Friday, so we normally jump in at 10:45. We're going to jump in a little early, and then I'm going to be probably doing an hour with Grant at 11, and then I'm doing radio today from 2 to 6. So everybody, I'm just going to be talking Niners, more Niners, basically between now and 7 o'clock tonight.
Well, I'll just tell you right now, I'm going to warn you, radio is a dying medium, and you'd be better off spending your 4 hours right on YouTube. But, you just go ahead and do what you got to do. Larry, I wish you the very, very best. Things that we're thankful for. I even sent this to you and Kevin, your son, who's been a huge part of making this show go as its executive producer, director, and all things. In terms of the highlights that he extracts from this show that you and I put out in videos. So thank you, Kevin, and Larry. Thank you. In a time to be thankful, I'm very, very thankful for you and the hand that you reached out as soon as I was laid off, and just pulled me into YouTube and did as much to encourage me to get up and go. And I really do appreciate it, brother. Thank you so very, very much. And
Absolutely.
I will leave you all with the note that Larry Krueger is good people. And thank you very much. Don't let the looks fool you. He's actually a good guy.
That's right. That's right. I don't care what anybody else says. He's actually a good guy. I always say that to people. You know what? I don't care what everybody else says, man. I think you're all right. That always gets a good look. But yeah, good stuff. Good win for the Niners, and now bring on the Eagles. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see what Niners Eagles looks like next week.
It's going to be an awful lot of fun. I mean, it should be the game of the year in the NFC. It really should be. It should. So, brass knuckle, straight up heavyweight title fight in the middle of the ring. No leaning up against the ropes or in the corners. These two teams are going to duke it out. They've got ferocious running attacks. They've got ferocious defensive lines. One of these teams has a ferocious offensive line. Hopefully the 49ers can meet that standard. When they get into Philadelphia, there is talent everywhere you look. Got two young, incredibly capable quarterbacks, two very good coaches, two great rabid fan bases. It should be a straight up slobber knocker. I can't wait to watch it.
Larry, I just want to see Sirianni just get. I would love it if somehow Sirianni got rolled up on the sideline. That's how much I hate that guy. I mean, I seriously, maybe
shoved.
Well, maybe how about a sweep to his side and then just take him out? That would be awesome.
There was a camera guy, a ball guy, taken out on the sidelines last night. You see that? He was like, ah.
Well, I don't want to root for that, but I would love to see Deebo come off the sideline and just roll up on Sirianni and just dump him on his can. That would be sweet. That would be amazing. Did you see Sirianni talking trash to Chiefs fans?
No.
Oh, it was awful. I mean, you didn't see that? He comes off the field and he's like trashing Chief fans the other night.
No, geez.
I mean, it's just, that guy's so smug. First play, who cares if it gains any yards? Sweep to Sirianni and take him out.
So not only do you want to beat the Eagles, you want to injure the head coach as well.
Yes. Let's forget how many yards you can get. Just take out the head coach. And sweep to Sirianni.
Happy holidays, everybody. By the way,
of course we're joking. We're not wishing for Sirianni to be put down or anything, but maybe just roughed up a little bit.
I want to wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving, Ralph. It's great to have you.
Craig, you always want to take out Sirianni at the knees. That's my fellow Paisan. Why are you doing that? Come on, Craig. This is where you and I are different. Tommy and I, we talk about things. We're controversial. Sometimes we have eclectic interests. We're different. I got great perspicacity. You, on the other hand, are just negative. And you're kind of mean-spirited. I gotta say, Craig, you're a little bit mean-spirited.
Ralph, I've always thought that Krug was mean-spirited. The things he would say about guys that I drafted. Yeah, okay, guys on his second ACL. Okay, how many times are you going to talk about it? You're just going to keep bringing it up? Listen, Lowry, I think I know some football. I like Gerald Hodges. I think he's a good linebacker. Yeah, we didn't stop the run last year, and, I probably don't know what I'm doing, but, I believe in Gerald Hodges. When I think of mean content creators, there's only one name that I wrote down and put in an envelope, and it rhymed with Gary Mooger.
You're so cute. You get so angry about the Niners. Tom and I, we're not like that. No, we're not like that. I always tell Tate, I'm going to bring you some garlic fries after I go to the game. But I'll tell you the one thing I'm not mean-spirited. You can say a lot about me. People say a lot of things. They say, a lot of people don't like me. They'll say, Ralph's this, Ralph's that. I'll tell you, Ralph is this and Ralph is that, but Ralph's not mean-spirited. Craig, why do you got to be mean-spirited?
Oh, thanks for watching, everyone. 49ers Wake Up. We're going to be back at it Monday, 8 a.m. Join us as you hop into a new week. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy the Thanksgiving break as it's still going on. Have yourself a good time on Black Friday. Don't hit anybody in Walmart today, and have yourself a great day.
Happy Thanksgiving from us to you, from you to us, and us and back. And I told Tom, I love Krug. Krug's a nice guy, but he's fucking he's too mean-spirited.